In November 2023, a Netflix documentary team released a 3-part series about a married couple in Michigan who, for the previous 6 years, had been running what former members described as an internet-based cult. The group had no name on its building because there was no building. It had no compound. It had no branded uniforms. Its members lived in their own homes in 15 different countries and connected through Zoom. What it had was a promise. The promise was simple. The two leaders, a man named Jeff Ayan and his wife Shaleia, claimed they could identify the one true love of every person who joined. They called this person a twin flame. They said the connection was spiritual, eternal, and assigned by God. And they said only they could confirm the match. For $2,222, they would tell you who your twin flame was. What happened next, for thousands of members over 6 years, became the subject of 2 separate documentaries, multiple investigative journalism pieces, 2 civil lawsuits, and an ongoing campaign by the families of current members to extract them from the group. This is the story of Twin Flames Universe. The couple who built it, the followers who paid for it, and the strangers named on Zoom calls by a man who claimed to hear from God, who were told to expect their soulmate to start contacting them, and did not always know they had been chosen. The man who calls himself Jeff Divine was born Jeffrey Ayan. He grew up in Michigan. He graduated from Western Michigan University with a business degree in 2011. According to people who knew him at the time, he had wanted for as long as they could remember to be a millionaire. His earlier business ventures had not worked out. One of them, according to investigative journalist Sarah Berman, was a service in which Jeff claimed he could cure cancer for a fee. After business school, he moved to Hawaii and changed his name. He began calling himself Ender Ayanethos. He marketed himself online as a lifestyle guru. Shaleia was born in Canada. Her name was Megan Plant. By the time she was in her mid-20s, she had begun studying with a spiritual teacher and had renamed herself Shaleia. She had moved to Sedona, Arizona, a town that had become a center for New Age spirituality in America. They met online in 2012. Jeff traveled to Arizona to see her. Within a few years, they had moved to Michigan together, married, and begun making YouTube videos about their relationship. They called themselves Jeff and Shaleia Divine. They told their followers that their marriage was proof that twin flames were real. In 2017, they founded Twin Flames Universe. The concept of a twin flame is older than the cult that monetized it. It exists in Hindu mythology. It appears in the writings of Plato. The popular modern version describes 2 souls who were originally one, split apart at the beginning of time, and destined to be reunited. The idea had been popularized in mainstream culture by celebrities like Megan Fox, who had publicly described her partner, Machine Gun Kelly, as her twin flame. What Twin Flames Universe offered was not the idea. The idea was free. What it offered was confirmation. Members would join the community by purchasing a course. The basic course cost a few $100s. The advanced courses cost more. Coaching sessions with Jeff or Shaleia personally cost up to $200 per hour. The unlimited package, which gave a member access to the full library of teaching videos, cost $2,222. The number was not arbitrary. In numerology, repeating digits are considered spiritually significant. 2s represent partnership. Once a member had paid, they were entitled to ask Jeff and Shaleia to identify their twin flame. The leaders would meditate, listen for what they described as a direct message from God, and then deliver the name. The names were not always other members of the community. In several cases, documented in both the Vanity Fair investigation by journalist Alice Hines and the Netflix documentary that followed, the named twin flame was a stranger, a co-worker, an ex-boyfriend who had cut off contact years earlier. In one case, a man not connected to the community in any way, whose ex-girlfriend was told by Jeff that he was her destined partner. Jeff and Shaleia's instructions to the member, having identified the match, were always the same. The twin flame might be running. They might be in denial of the connection. They might appear, to the casual observer, to be uninterested or even afraid. None of this mattered. The member's job was to pursue the union by any means necessary, to send messages, to show up at addresses, to wait, to persist. Above all, never to give up. A man identified in the Netflix documentary as the unknowing twin flame of a former member filed a restraining order against her in 2020. The community grew quickly. By 2020, isolation during the pandemic had driven a wave of new members. Most were women. Most were in their 30s or 40s. Most had paid for the course because they were lonely, recently divorced, or grieving. What they found, once they were inside, was a teaching system designed to make leaving impossible. The central practice of Twin Flames Universe was something Jeff and Shaleia called the mirror exercise. They had not invented it. The technique, in various forms, exists in pop psychology and certain spiritual traditions. The basic idea is that whatever a person sees in another, they are seeing in themselves. In Twin Flames Universe, the technique was used to redirect every complaint a member made back at the member. If a follower's twin flame, the name stranger, was uninterested in them, the follower was told that they were rejecting themselves. If the twin flame was abusive, the follower was told that they were being abusive. If a follower was depressed, suicidal, or being financially exploited by the community, they were told that they were doing it to themselves, that the answer was deeper engagement with the teachings, and that doubting the doctrine was the source of all their problems. For some members, this redirection went further. Roughly 2/3 of Twin Flames Universe's membership were women. When women were paired with women as twin flames, Jeff and Shaleia introduced a new doctrine. They taught that every twin flame relationship contained one divine masculine and one divine feminine. If both partners had been born female, one of them was considered internally the masculine partner. That partner was then called by a male name, told to dress in male clothing, and, in some documented cases, encouraged to pursue medical gender transition. The women who underwent these changes did so on the instruction of Jeff and Shaleia. The Netflix documentary identifies several by name. Their families, in interviews, describe receiving emails from people who had been their daughters and sisters, now signing under different names, and no longer permitted to speak to them. To minimize their tax exposure, in 2020, Jeff and Shaleia incorporated Twin Flames Universe as a religious organization. They renamed the corporate entity Church of Union. On the church website, they began describing themselves as having been sent by God from heaven to bring the teachings of union to earth. Their estimated combined net worth by 2023 was nearly $5 million. In April of 2023, their daughter was born. They named her Grace Violet Divine. They publicly described her as their third twin flame, a soul who had chosen before birth to be born into their union. 7 months later, the Netflix documentary was released. The response from former members and from the families of current members was immediate. The documentary brought public attention to a community that had previously operated mostly through word of mouth. The Vanity Fair investigation by Alice Hines, published 3 years earlier, had done the same on a smaller scale. Both pieces had been written largely from the testimony of defectors. In June of 2020, Jeff and Shaleia had filed 2 lawsuits against former members and the relatives of current members who had spoken publicly about their experiences. Both lawsuits were dismissed within a year. Twin Flames Universe is still operating today. Its members continue to pay for courses. Its leaders continue to identify twin flames. Its YouTube channel was taken down in some markets after the Netflix documentary, but the Church of Union website remains live, the books remain for sale, and the recruitment continues. The estimated active membership in early 2026 is several thousand people across more than a dozen countries. There is no government investigation. There is no criminal case. There is no court injunction stopping Jeff and Shaleia from continuing to identify the soulmates of paying customers, and there is no legal mechanism to compel them to stop. The families who have lost relatives to the community have been working since 2020 to build evidence of what is happening inside it. They share documents on private forums, they preserve recordings, they wait for someone they love to leave, the way the people in the documentary eventually did. Some of them have been waiting for nearly a decade. This file is now closed. More are waiting. Subscribe to the Midnight Vault. Every week, another classified document, another institutional failure, another story they spent the most money trying to bury. Until next time.